Hello again, Sandwich. I'm Greg Anderson. Pretty soon, kids will be bellowing the words of prophetic poet Alice Cooper with school's out for the summer, and yet there's still a lot of school year left to go, and therefore, Sandwich School Superintendent and his whole team are still busy taking care of business, as Bachman Turner Overdrive would say. Welcome, Dr. Joe.
Working overtime.
Oh, very good.
Yes.
I thought you were going to say something like 9 to 5, like Dolly
No,
Parton.
I got to stay with BTL.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah.
See, now these are, Brian was singing School's Out for the Summer. It's all going to be stuck in our head.
It is, but I'm a child of the 70s. What can I say?
Yeah. So last time we saw each other, we were in your office.
Yeah.
I had basically sent an email to everyone saying that we're closing school down for the summer early,
Sure.
or whatever that
Sure,
message
sure.
was. But now we have a special guest.
We do.
So we have Jeannie Nelson, who is your brand new, though you have been interim, brand new principal of the middle high school. Welcome, Jeannie.
Thank you.
So we're going to get into some discussions, with you. But I welcome you to the show. This has always been a little loosey goosey with Joe and me. So try to keep up if you could.
Will do.
It's in-depth analytical insight.
Exactly.
Is really what I would call this show.
A lot of learning.
Yes.
A lot of learning going
Yes.
on.
Yes,
a lot of learning.
absolutely.
All right. So speaking of a lot has happened since the beginning of the school year. You guys have had a busy school year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a year of substantial change, but definitely very, very positive. And as far as the district moving forward, I think we've made some tremendous strides this year.
So are you feeling that what you wanted to accomplish at the beginning of the school year, that you're accomplishing what you want? Has this been a good year?
Absolutely. I mean, I think if you were to look at our district improvement plans, which are available on our website, a lot of the specific goals and objectives and action plan steps, we've been really successful, and we've kind of stayed on target.
So give me a couple things that are not moving fast enough.
Not moving fast enough. I think we have a lot of desire to make some substantial facility and infrastructure upgrades to our 3 buildings. I think the school committee has done a yeoman's job of kind of making that front and center. As a matter of fact, I started this morning at 8 a.m. with a group of people. I've formed a family and community advisory group, and they really have kind of taken hold of this school beautification project. So we met with some local landscapers, wonderful people, who are looking at a complete redesign of the squares and the gardens that are in front of Forest Dale and Oak Ridge. So we're really cautiously optimistic by the conclusion of this spring. We'll have that completely first gutted, but then completely re-landscaped and manicured, and with the mindset of we have so much to be proud of in this school district. And part of it, our candid conversations, has been around curb appeal. And when you're dropping off your kids, you want to see your buildings really well maintained.
Yeah.
And it's a source of pride. And
Because we know when you go inside, you got old carpets, you have some banged up furniture.
Sure.
All of that is
Sure.
a reality.
And I do think, again, we're remarkably grateful to the town. We've got a significant infusement as of July 1st of $1 million to address some of those needs.
Yeah. So tell me about that. That's the grant money. Is that the grant money that
Well,
we're
no,
talking
it
about?
is.
That's from the town.
It's the town's allocation of capital funding. And realize, over the last 5 to 7 years, the schools have received either $125,000 or $150,000, which is fine for some necessary repairs. But if you're thinking about some bigger capital projects, that's just kind of the proverbial drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
So the $1 million will be remarkably helpful to us, particularly with regard to some safety and security upgrades that we're looking at.
So I jumped the gun a little bit on that grant money, but the district was recently awarded about $1 million in grant money. Can you explain what that is and where it's going?
Sure, yeah. The state, over the last 2 to 3 years, in kind of helping communities and across the state get ready for universal preschool or pre-K, has awarded communities grants to kind of create partnerships between the school district's preschool program and private preschools. So our retired Assistant Superintendent Maureen Wicklin, a little more a year ago, wrote a grant. We're successful. We've got, it's a little bit over $1 million over 3 years for the Sandwich Public Schools to partner with local preschools, for example, like Joyful Noise, which is right in the village, to kind of urge and to get more parents to enroll their children into the program, but also to boost up their programs. So additional professional development for pre-K teachers, having more early intervention services, think about things like speech language or OT or PT and so on. So super, super helpful grant.
Yeah. Changing subjects, Chapter 70 funding. You were in a recent school committee meeting, you were talking about that. The district, in fiscal year 2024, the district received, I think it was $7.5 million. It's proposed $7.7 in fiscal year 25. Can you explain that? And are you jumping for joy?
Well, let's not get crazy. I wouldn't describe it as jumping for joy because the fact remains that Sandwich is about, in this 70% of the 321 districts across the Commonwealth, we are considered to be a minimum aid district based upon the wealth of our community. So as a result, unfortunately, as a minimum aid district, from year to year, we typically get about $20 or $30 additional per student. If you think about, based upon how many students we have, that translates to be about picking up about $60,000. Not a lot of money.
Not a lot of money.
So the good news is, in the recent House budget that was passed, it was proposed and it was approved $104 additional dollars per student. So, would I like to see some of the burden taken off our local taxpayers? Absolutely, but it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
So versus the governor's budget, which was released in the end of January, we would be looking at picking up about an additional $165,000.
So what changed why the increase?
I think it's a lot of lobbying from folks like our local state rep, Steve Zaros, and so on, of saying, hey, we can't keep up with the same old, and just based upon inflation alone, that $20 or $30 is not keeping up. It's wonderful that right before the pandemic in 2019, the Student Opportunity Act, which infused billions of more dollars into K-12 education, was passed, but realized the overwhelming majority of that, 80% of that, goes to a very small amount of districts, all urban or urban ring, what is referred to as gateway communities.
Okay, all right. Let's talk a little bit about a report card that just came out. On April 24th, you received your evaluation from the school committee.
Sure.
A lot of things I want to unpack in here.
Okay.
First one, I printed this on my black and white computer, but look, I don't know if anyone can see that. Look at that angry picture.
That is not angry.
That's a grumpy man right
there. That is
pensive.
That is, like, I even have the pensive pose working. Come on.
It looks like,
angry, that's a stretch.
Holy crap, what's coming my way. That's the way I'm reading that. But what'd you think? What'd you think of your evaluation?
I thought it was very fair. You know, there's 4 standards for performance, and the way the ratings go for all educators is unsatisfactory, needs improvement, proficient, and then exemplary.
It's funny, my wife has those same ones from me.
She rates you as a husband?
Weekly, which I think is a little excessive.
Yeah, that sounds a little rough.
Yeah. I digress.
You know, I would also, I concur in my own self-assessment. What the committee members assess me, I think they assess me 3 out of the 4. They assess me proficient, and 1 exemplary. You know, as I genuinely said publicly, I thank them. I thank them for their feedback. I'm humbled by their faith in me and the job that I'm doing as superintendent. I think there's still a part of me, it's kind of funny that you called it a report card, because there's still part of me that I am 12-year-old Joey Maruzjak at Agawam Middle School, and I want to bring home a report card with straight A's. And I think a lot of us as educators are like that, and there's part of me like, how come I'm not exemplary in everything, you know? And I think proficient is a very, very high bar, and I'm pleased that I'm at that. But as a lot of them said in their commentary, and I concur with it, like, hey, I look forward to continuing the work and having more achievements for our community and for our school district, and I do want to be an exemplary superintendent.
You're credited with increased rigor, their words, in the use of data, proficiency in instructional leadership, and operations transparency. The transparency thing, I actually think that's part of me helping you with this, and Paula.
Clearly.
God
bless SCTV.
When I saw that, I was like, transparency, of course, it's Ask the Supt that's helping with that.
Yeah.
And professional culture. Now, the times that I have talked to you and the Dr. Joe that I know, I was really pleased to see that, because I feel like you do talk to a lot of culture and people and leadership. And, you know, we're out of COVID, but we still got a little bit of a hangover there.
Sure.
But you did get a C- under your watch. You're losing students.
Yeah.
So did that surprise you that got called out as dramatically as that?
I know the member who put that in. I understand the context in which they did it. You know, do I think it merits a statement saying C-? I do not. You know, but do I understand the concern and the sense of urgency that we need to turn around enrollment loss? I certainly do, but I also know the context of the entire Cape in losing population. I also know the context of increased competition vis-a-vis Upper Cape Tech, Sturgis, and other private and parochial schools. So I go back to, I am going to do everything in my power, you know, working with folks like Jeannie, to make sure that we have the strongest possible academic program possible, particularly at Sandwich Middle High School, and that we are doing, again, back to your point, culturally, everything that we can to ensure that the Sandwich Public Schools is a district where there's a very, very strong sense of belonging by all of our students and de facto their families as well.
So when you look at any evaluation, an employer evaluation, when my boss evaluates me, there is always that part of you as the employee, if you will, that says, do they really understand all the stuff I have to do every day? Do you feel the school committee has a real clear picture of, frankly, what you had to clean up when you came in? You've got the post-COVID issue, you've got learning loss, you have, I mean, all of these these issues, do you feel this, because the school committee is about to go into an election, which they're all going to get back in because...
We have the stability of, 2 straight years.
Exactly. So do you feel they truly understand?
I do.
what
I
you're-
genuinely do. I do think we're really, really fortunate in this community where we've got school committee members that are either current or retired educators. They're all working professionals. They all approach things from a little bit of a different angle. But as far as I can honestly say, we are 7 for 7 with people who have good hearts, who very much have the big picture focus. Sometimes, unfortunately, in communities, you've got people with these really narrow tunnel vision or something political or personally motive or intentions. That's not the case in Sandwich. They genuinely are 7 really, really good people who have a vested interest in the success of all of our kids.
So tell me the truth. When you were reading all of the comments, when Danielle Benendo was reading these, they were anonymous. She wasn't identifying who said what, but you pretty much knew who was saying what.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, was there anything that surprised you? Like,
No,
oh,
nothing
why did-
whatsoever.
Okay.
Nothing.
How does it feel to be so publicly scored?
It's a little strange. I mean, I'm kind of used to it in the sense that this is my 13th year as a superintendent, and in my previous 10 in my former district of Mendon Upton, it was kind of the same thing. And there's a little, initially there's a little awkwardness to it of like, okay, I'm just going to sit here, like Stugatz while you're, reading it. But I think if you do your work, and part of my job as superintendent is to ensure that I have a school committee that's very, very well prepared. Danielle and the superintendent's evaluation subcommittee, which was Danielle and Christine Brown and Bert Fisher, took their charge very, very seriously, as did the remainder of the committee. So I think if you do that legwork and you kind of explain, and it is a very, very comprehensive process, and not this meeting, but the next meeting in May, there will be the presentation of my next annual plan. It's pretty involved. So I think if you're doing the job correctly, from my perspective as superintendent, but also from the perspective of the school committee, there really should be no surprises.
Okay. So Jeannie Nelson, principal now, permanent principal of the middle high school. She was the interim, and you made her permanent. Why her?
It comes down to, that adage, like the right person at the right time. I think Jeannie is the epitome of that, in the sense that in describing her to some outside folks, I always start with, you could not be more true blue Sandwich, Blue Knight, than Jeannie. You're talking about somebody who's spent 22 years of their career here in Sandwich, starting at the Wing School, worked as a teacher, worked as a department chair, worked as an assistant principal, and to a T, the feedback from day one has always been, Jeannie is the go-to person. Jeannie is the person who has so much integrity. She's the person that we know she's going to follow through. What she says she's going to do, she's going to do. But first and foremost, her heart is always thinking about the kids and doing what's right for kids. So honestly, in the scheme of decisions that I've had to make in 34 years of my career, this was one of the easier ones.
Jeannie, I don't think he likes you.
No.
I think we've got a problem.
Is that it?
Yeah. So what interested you, Jeannie, to this job?
So I began back in the classroom, back at the Wing School, teaching Spanish to middle school, and then progressively moved to the high school, and then department chair. And And I was always interested in leadership, and so became an assistant principal. And it really felt like the most natural trajectory.
Yeah.
So,
And my understanding is there were a lot of people within the school district that were lobbying on your behalf to make this happen. Even after you became interim, like let's do this. Am I correct in that?
I'm not quite sure, but I know I have support.
Yeah.
I think when you've been a teacher and you've been working side by side with people for such a long time, that you have credibility,
Yeah.
and they know that you understand the job and that you've done it and you've worked side by side with them. So those relationships they don't break, they don't separate, but even though the positions change.
Yeah. So you came into this job, and even as interim, how long were you interim? What was that?
I was acting originally for a month maybe or
Okay.
two, then went to interim for a few months.
Okay.
Or actually up until April.
Yeah, it's essentially the
till-
start
till
of the
now.
school year.
Start of the school year.
Yeah.
What has been the most challenging for you? Any new job, any new venture, there's a learning curve, or there's I kind of understood the job, but this is maybe technology, or things are changing in the job. Anything that is of challenge to you, or that, it's kind of putting you to the test?
I would just say maybe the unexpected nature of the position, the unexpected shift in it was not unexpected. It was not a kind of a traditional or conventional step into a principalship.
Yeah.
And so that piece of it, and then also kind of just managing with the admin team that we had. We did bring in some support, a retired principal, to take over what I had been doing as assistant principal. So those pieces were in flux, and continue to be this year a little bit. So just kind of figuring out that piece of it, the responsibilities, maintaining some of the jobs I was doing as assistant principal while assuming these as principal. That I would say that would be the biggest challenge. Not impossible, but definitely like a far larger scope of responsibility.
You stepped in the non-conventional trajectory of you becoming principal. Clearly has to do with your predecessor and kind of a lot of stuff that was going on there. I don't really care to get into that, but just like anybody coming in, even Dr. Joe, when you came in, you had a predecessor and there was a different way of doing things. There's a lot of really good things happening, and I don't want to I want to underscore that. I don't want to focus on the negative, but was there a lot of cleanup that you had to do when you stepped in, even as acting in interim?
I wouldn't necessarily say cleanup. I do think that every leader has their own style. And I think this, for me, is an opportunity to assess our systems that are in place in the school. And so and again, like I'm at the very beginning part of that, but this is an opportunity for us to, for me and for the team and for the department chairs to work together to say, where can we improve and what can we do better? And so we are making an action plan, and we are working on district goals, and we're maintaining alignment with the district and the belonging and the various initiatives that are in place. But for sure, yeah, tightening up and improvement is the focus.
Yeah. How do you describe your leadership style? Who is Jeannie Nelson, the leader? What does that look like?
It's a great question. Probably a better question for other people to answer.
Right.
But I would say that I'm fairly direct as a leader. Direct, not in a dictatorship kind of way, but if asked a question or if asked for feedback, I will be honest. So perhaps honest is a better word.
Yeah.
And then again, empathetic for sure. I have a family, I have children, so working with such a large staff, you have to have that compassionate piece as well because of people's lives and things that are happening, and so that's always a piece. And then again, like whatever's working with the students and the families. So each case is unique, each case is different, and just kind of taking into how we can support the staff, how we can support the students, and taking into all those pieces.
When you look at the myriad of issues to focus on, you have budgets, student achievement, academic performance, school safety, teacher recruitment, teacher retention, keeping up with technology. Is there anything that keeps you up at night?
Keep me up at night. It's been not a very, I haven't had like a lot of sleep this year, I will say, but not
It's
necessarily.
because of him. It's
Yes.
because of him, right?
Yeah.
Horrific boss.
It's been a fast-paced movement to keep up. It's been, but I wouldn't necessarily say stressful. I am supported. I'm tremendously
Yeah.
supported. I'm supported internally in the building. I'm supported with the district team. So that layer of insulation, that helps. With like maybe the more serious concerns or questions I might have, but I'm not staying up at night worrying about anything.
Yeah.
I think we're in good hands. I think we're in a good spot, and we're making really strong steps forward.
Yeah. I just have to say, just sitting, I've never met you before, Jeannie, but as I'm sitting here with you, and I'm a good read of people, and I'm an energy guy, and I really focus on those things. I feel they're very tangible, especially in the workplace. You have a lot of staff under you. You have support as you're describing it. But I really, in my personal opinion, and I don't have kids in the school district, so I'm not trying to sway anything here, I see you as a great fit. I see you as somebody who is bringing the positive, who is saying, okay, every school district gets banged up. Every high school gets banged up. You know, you've got retention issues of students. But I feel like there is a positive culture, a positive energy that's happening. Am I know you're going to say yes, but am I speaking the truth here? Am I right on this? And can you give me any examples of how are things looking better at the high school these days?
Great, that's a great question. I do. It's an interesting question as well. So this year has given us. I feel like we've all been waiting, as a staff, myself included, for a moment or like for our chance to say like, hey, look at us, look at what's happening here, look what we're doing, because there are amazing things happening. And I do think that people are ready and eager to showcase that and to say like, look at all of the things that are coming out of Sandwich Middle High School and the students and the successes and the achievements. And I'm not quite sure that up until this point that has been publicly acknowledged or even put out there for people to recognize. And so and that's on us, and that's on us. So we have kids and we have incredible academic programming, but we're only getting better in that. So we acknowledge that we're competing with Upper Cape Tech. We acknowledge we're competing with Sturgis. We know these schools are offering other things, so we're going to switch up some programming. We're bringing in career pathways, innovative pathways in computer science, working with industry professionals out in the field, getting kids internships. This upcoming year will be computer science. The following year will be biomedical studies and business. So, we're working with a school in Finland right now. We're sending 14 students to Finland next year for a global sustainability project through the United Nations.
No kidding.
Yes, amazing. And our students just went to the State House earlier this week and this group of students won second prize in the state for their project that they're working on with Finland.
On innovating recycling.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not to interrupt, but like you triggered a couple things, Greg.
I always
One,
do.
you there should be a trigger warning at the beginning of the show.
Right.
A couple things. Well, it's interesting that Jeannie used the term showcase. Like back in, I believe it was February, we did a Sandwich Middle High School showcase to kind of invite 7th and 8th grade families in to show all of our various academic, co-curricular, and athletic programs. We had remarkable attendance. And we also had staff members come out to showcase what they were doing, what the kids were doing, and so on. It was a night of incredible energy.
Wow.
And to a person, people in the school were really, really excited. And they would say to me, and they also said to school committee members, like, yeah, this is the biggest no-brainer decision that you ever have to make. Jeannie needs to be our principal. And the reason that we're all here and we don't have to be here is because of Jeannie. And we want to support Jeannie, and we want to see this school really take off. So that's one piece. I think another thing kind of triggered something in my head. There's aspects of my job and also Jeannie's job that are complex and sometimes thorny, but there's aspects of this job that it ain't rocket science. And you and you started your comment with about being a good judge of character and about positive energy. And I think, as next week is Teacher Appreciation Week, and we were kind of talking and kicking around ideas of what to do for our folks, but
They like cash. Just go with the check.
We're in the middle of
50 grand,
negotiations.
that's
That
all they
always
need.
works. It's all about the Benjamins. But March is kind of like one of those doldrum months, right? There's no long weekends or anything. And one Friday morning, Jeannie and Dave and Kevin, the 2 assistant principals, just literally put aprons on and cooked breakfast for all the teachers. And
Very nice.
like just a little thing like that.
Very
That's the
nice.
stuff that people remember.
Very nice.
That's the stuff that resonate. And in my humble opinion, that's the mark of being a strong leader, when you have that emotional intelligence to understand it's the little things that really help create a team.
I love that. When you guys, and I'll ask this question to both of you, but it's really for Jeannie, but, and think of kids' names. It's okay to call out a name if something comes to mind, first name only or both if you want. But when I look at the school, the middle high school, there is a group of children. How many kids are up there?
917.
So 917 people make up that population. If I were an incoming middle school student, or if I were moving into the district and placing my child in the high school, one of those questions you want to ask, and the principal is the one to ask, maybe the superintendent as well, who are those 917 kids? How do you describe them? How would you describe the kids? I see talent. I saw what happened at Rent.
Oh, amazing, right?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Sports, the academic achievements up at the State House. But what do you see? How would you describe those 917 kids?
Yeah, I mean, the talent is unquestionable. The capacity for success is all there. But I will tell you what feedback I get. So we have different substitute teachers that come in all the time. And they are often substitutes that go to Falmouth, and they'll go to DY, and they'll travel around. And they come and find me, and this has happened on several occasions. They come at the end of the day, and they come up and they say, I just want to tell you, your kids are amazing. They're super polite. They're so helpful. They get right down to work. Like, they're very, very easy to work with, and they made my day so pleasant. So these are substitute teachers coming in from other towns and providing that feedback, and essentially, regardless of whether they are academically successful or not athletic or not in the performing arts, they're really, really good kids. They're really great kids, and the families are so supportive as well.
Yeah.
And that vibe is in the building, and that atmosphere is there. And so it's helpful. So if you have a new student, those are kids who are going to embrace your student. And we do have so many, like you just mentioned, we have so many clubs and so many different extracurricular opportunities that regardless of what your child is involved in or passionate about, there's a place and there's a group and there's that community, that sense of community.
See, as a parent, that's awesome. There's a place, because if my kid is that quiet, shy, not comfortable in front of, maybe there's a learning disability, whatever it may be, I just want my kid to have a place. And you're calling that out. That's good. Anything you want to add as to these kids and?
I think it's great what you specifically mentioned with regard to our recent production of Rent. That I said to Kevin and Melinda Lassett, and I said to a lot of the parents that were there, Leslie Santos, Gretchen Mulroy, who had kids in the lead. Like, in 34 years, I've never seen a high school production like that. It was just off the charts.
Yeah.
And to think about the power of the culture that's created and the sense of belonging that those kids have of belonging to something so special, and the implications that it has moving forward, and not only their academic growth, but their social emotional growth is amazing.
We'll end on that note. When I went to Emerson College, which and that's the School of Performing Arts, and we see these actors and kids that go on and they do great things in film and television and theater. It's always the ones that say, I got a shot in high school to do a play, and I heard that audience. I heard that laughter. I heard that applause, and it made me think, this is where I want to go. I watched some of those videos. I did not get a chance to go to Rent, but I watched some of those videos, and I thought, there are some kids up there who are now inspired on a level that perhaps they didn't even know before that, because it was just such a great display of talent and music, and I could talk all day about it. Hey, Jeannie,
It was very
welcome.
nice to meet you. Thank
Good
you.
luck, or
Thank
welcome
you.
to the
Thank you.
new gig. And you are
Some guy. I'm chief bottle washer or something.
exactly.
I don't know. Yeah.
Hey, this is it's great to talk to you two, my friends out there. This is merely another way to help you see kind of the inner workings, the inside talk of our school district. It's very important for you to know, and hopefully this conversation has been helpful. We'll see you next month. Take care.